So you see your ex smiling on social media, maybe they're with their significant other, and you think there is no way they are this freaking happy. It's only been a week, it's only been a month or two since our breakup. There's no way this is real, and you're gonna watch this video because, yeah, it's not real. Today, I'm gonna show you the signs that she's pretending and a few signs that maybe she's not. After a breakup, both parties want to make each other think that they're both better off without each other. If they're toxic, they try to hook up as fast as possible. They try to get a new partner as fast as possible. They take on more hours at their job. They start a pet sitting business. It doesn't really matter. They dye their hair blonde, change their name, Danielle. Was that too pointed? I didn't know if that was too pointed. I'm kidding, Danielle doesn't exist anymore. These are jokes, people. These are jokes. We're moving on. After a breakup, people fake happiness because they want to reassure themselves that they made the right choice, that you really weren't the right person for them or vice versa, and that no matter how they left you, whether it was good or bad or neutral, that it was the right choice, that you guys wouldn't have worked out in the future anyway, and they were really just saving themselves a lot of time and energy. Unfortunately, that's not how love works, and that's not how relationships work. We don't spend our time with the people who give us the most energy, because you don't go to a relationship to take, you go to give. They fake happiness to protect their pride, their ego, and maybe most importantly, their image. God forbid they ever look like they were the ones that got dumped. Their ego could not handle that. So they have to flip the script and say, you know what? They may have broken up with me, and they know that, but they're not gonna make it look like that on social media. On social media, they want you to know and everyone around them to know that they weren't broken up with. Even if they were, they're the ones that are in control of the situation, you see. God forbid anyone ever see a flaw in them. But underneath all of this is what I firmly believe about every single breakup. All of it comes down to grief, grieving you, grieving the relationship, grieving the language that is now lost between you two that only you two could interpret, grieving the future that you could have had together. These are the types of things that people do not want to admit, and they will run from and they will ignore as long as they possibly can. And part of them ignoring it or running from it is building up these layers, these defenses of anger, shame, pride, ego. They're all built on top of this, and what you see on the outside is their social media, them glowing up or they're sparkling. They're looking so good without you. But that's just the thing. They want you to think that they're doing so good without you. Because if you knew how destroyed they were, it would feed your ego, and they don't want that. It would mean that they were vulnerable with you, and there's no way in hell they're gonna admit that. They're not gonna admit that you got past their defenses. They're not going to admit that they cared about you and still lost you, because that's exactly what it is. Loss. It's grief. It's something they didn't have control over necessarily. And admitting that they lost you would be admitting that they lost something that they valued, and they can't face that, because if they admit that you had value or admit that you guys had a future, they might have to admit that they played a role, and maybe even the biggest role, in its destruction. Sign number one is that your ex is overposting on social media. You know the baseline for your ex's posting schedule on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all that good stuff. So if they're, say, a daily poster, and all of a sudden you see that they're coming out with 3, 4, 5 snaps every single day, you know they're overposting after the breakup, trying to reach out, trying to numb, trying to just push you away, or trying to make you think, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me, I'm doing so much better without you. It's a bit of an inward spiral with them. They're trying to provoke a reaction out of you. They're trying to get you to feel something because they can't stand thinking, even though it's not true, thinking that they might be the only ones that miss you. This does not give you an excuse to reach out, by the way. This is just me telling you what's going on in their head and why they're appearing on social media to be just fine. Usually part of their overposting on social media is a lot of them partying. It's gonna be quotes that are about moving on, finding true love, or how their ex was a total demon and they're so glad they got away from you. Which is why I tell guys all the time, if you were just broken up with, you need to stay off social media totally, completely, period, for at least 1 week. Because what you're going to see are a lot of things that are either gonna hurt your feelings, or you're going to view her stuff and give her free validation, which is gonna push her further away from you. It's not worth it. There is no good outcome. You need to stay off social media for at least a week after the breakup. They want to make you think that they're healing. So that's why they post these healing content, this moving on content. But you've got to understand that healing, true healing, like true meditation, isn't loud, it's quiet. I'm not saying that if she literally posts one thing about healing and moving on, that it's proof that she's not healing and moving on, but odds are the people who post about stuff like that aren't really healing and they're damn sure not really moving on. Number 2 is a bit more difficult to detect, but it's a fake smile, awkward position in photos. And what I mean is they're either smiling way too much, they're acting out way too much. Like you can tell that the little act that they're putting on, like they're unusually extremely happy. They've all of a sudden become much more extroverted, and you're kind of wondering to yourself, okay, why is she acting like that? Doesn't she know it hurts my feelings? But that's the point. She wants to hurt your feelings. She wants to prompt you to reach out and run and beg and chase her because that feeds her ego. And what the feminine hates is a man who feeds their ego. That's why if you do feed her ego will love it, but her feminine will hate it. And that's the chaos that makes up women. Sign number 3 is excessive partying or excessive extroversion. In other words, she's going out way more than she used to. So it's fairly normal for single people to just go out on the weekends. It's not normal for them to go out Friday, Saturday, Sunday, take off a day in the middle of the week just to sleep in, something like that. This type of behavior isn't healthy even when you're in a relationship, but okay when you're outside of the relationship and now you've broken up and you look back and you see her on her social media and she's all of a sudden partying every single weekend. It's like, you might actually take that as a compliment that she's needing all of this distraction to shift her focus away from you. If you notice her follower count going up, if you notice that she's interacting with new people or just more people in general on social media, then yeah, she's trying to distract herself. She's trying to run as far and as fast as she can because again, she doesn't want to feel that breakup yet. And hey, sign number 4, let's go with the obvious. She gets into a rebound. Like there's not a more obvious sign than her jumping straight into a rebound a week or 2 or a month or 2 after you guys break up. Now look, the 3-month mark is where you could probably say, yeah, okay, if somebody gets into a new relationship 3 months after you guys broke up and they're like weren't messing around beforehand while you're in a relationship, they weren't cheating on you with this person, then yeah, it's probably a real relationship, probably not a rebound. But relationships end, no matter if they're a rebound or not, as you are yourself just figuring out. I get a kick out of the girls who will post a new guy the day after. Let me back this up. I know girls who will go out with a new man, sleep with him on the first date, take pictures and post themselves in their shirts with them, whatever, the day after. And it's like, that kind of behavior is disgusting. That is not how you're gonna get your ex back. Ladies and men, same thing goes for you. Don't do that. It's so needy and desperate looking, it really is a turnoff. The key point here is that true emotion needs time to grow. You're not going to get that from a one-night stand immediately. You're not going to get that depth immediately. No doubt you can feel a spark, you can feel a flame immediately, sure. But as far as jumping straight into a relationship or they're texting him every single day, they want to go out with him again, the next day, not even the next weekend, the next day, it's a real good sign that this is just a rebound. She's gonna quit him hard and the emotional high that she feels with him is gonna be gone in like less than 2 weeks. And that crash is very real, and that crash is coming. Sign number 5 is that she likes things about moving on. Glowing up, never needing anyone, mental health, energy, whatever it is. These are things that she's trying to do to emotionally regulate herself without actually doing the work of working on herself. In a word, she's overcompensating, especially if you're on Instagram, because Instagram will show you the liked reels of your friends, and you can see that she's starting to like a whole lot of self-help reels and stuff. Grab some popcorn, buddy. It's about to get fun. Because she's going to spiral and you're the one that's gonna get a front row seat to it. Now look, not every smile is fake and not every post is gonna be about you after a breakup, but there are signs and there are patterns that you can learn to recognize to see that your ex is having a real hard time moving on. The more high or intense, the more emotion that was felt on that breakup, whether it was good or bad, by the way, is what's going to make it so much harder on both of you to move on, even if it was neutral. See, that middle ground is a little bit of pain, but you're like, all right, go away. And just as a reminder here, you can get hooked on viewing her profile multiple times a day, and you're trying to look for the slightest signs that she sort of misses you. And look, that sort of obsessive way of doing things, it's not going to heal you. It's not going to allow you to move on. Now, I constantly say this, you don't need to move on from her, but you do need to move on from that relationship because that relationship is gone permanently. Even if you start a new one, it's got to be a new one, and you don't want to fall back into the old one. And part of you falling back into the old one is you holding on to the old one, okay? You've got to bury that thing. It's dead where it was, and you need to move on. Now look, if you notice these signs, they're just a hint. They're a breadcrumb from her, whether intentionally or not intentionally. It's called emotional leakage. And the real power move here for you is to simply not take the bait. That will drive her nuts, especially if she hasn't heard from you in like a week or two, or God forbid, a month. But I am curious, I've done this now for a few months, and I want to know, what are some of the weirdest, subtlest signs that your ex has ever dropped to you? Let me know in the comments. I really want to know this. Either way it goes, lil sis, lil bro, you've got this, I've got you, and I'll see you in the next one.